2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Today we've got a video of a woman who falsely accused her husband of a crime that he did not commit and how she got away with it. It's pretty messed up, to be honest. It's something I covered in one of my previous videos, so I wanted to touch on this today, just to kind of put that into more better perspective. Because I stated in one of my previous videos that women can make these accusations against men and literally nobody does anything about it, and the enforcement and the law in general is so quick to believe a woman that the man ends up having to spend a lot of money to defend himself against something he didn't even do. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Well, now to a story of treachery and deceit. From the outside, they looked like a happily married couple, but when Faisal had doubts and turned to a lawyer, his wife took their breakup to the next level.
You're about to witness one of the most audacious attempts by a wife to frame her husband for domestic violence.
She's dangerous, very dangerous.
Watch how this woman astonishingly punches herself in the face, not once, but twice, later telling police her husband bashed her.
Flip.
Now, how many guys have actually, been through something similar to that? I actually personally know somebody who actually ended up doing a little bit of time for a similar situation. The girl didn't necessarily beat herself up, but some other girl beat her up, and she ended up charging her ex for it, or her baby daddy for it, and the dude ended up going to jail for it, and nobody did anything to the woman for the false accusation.
My life upside down. I'm not the guy who I used to be anymore.
This is a story about temptation and treachery, a lover and a liar, where romance makes way for revenge with catastrophic consequences.
Well, I haven't actually heard of a scenario such as this, inflicting injury upon themselves in order to set up a scenario which results in someone else being charged.
I'm sure there are many men who have heard of scenarios exactly like that. And that's where all these false accusations come from. The majority of them come from women who inflict the injuries upon themselves because they know that if they call the law, they know they have to have something to show them in order to make the law believe that's what actually happened. And without the law actually doing a thorough investigation, they just automatically assume she's telling the truth and this is what the guy did, so the guy is the one that is going to jail.
If love is blind, then Faisal only had eyes for Asma.
She presented herself like she's a perfect girl on the planet.
He met her through an online Muslim dating site and proposed soon after leaving Western Sydney to meet Asma in Morocco. However, while Faisal was hoping to return to Aussie with a life partner, he now believes Asma didn't share that dream.
She's a greedy person. She's materialistic.
The two officially tied the knot here last year, and Faisal was hardly frugal in making his new bride feel at home. He worked 2 jobs, spending everything he earned on his wife, from Gucci tracksuits to leather jackets, rings, necklaces and shoes, holidays and fine dining, parties in Morocco and money wired back to Asma's family. A fawning Faisal says he was a good provider.
All this traveling, going back and forth twice and 3 times, and doing all the functions, receptions, engagement, jewelry, stuff. Probably I'll be under 200,000.
Whoa! 200,000. No wonder she was mad that he was leaving. Goodness gracious. But she said, I got a guy that's going to spend 200 grand on me. I'm not letting him leave, not without paying the cost. And that's the way a lot of these false accusations come up, is this punishment for the man wanting to leave the relationship. And it's so messed up that society and the law enforcement and the court system all together just kind of feed into that narrative that, you know, yeah, he probably did do it, you know? And so that just encourages women to do exactly what this lady just did, or what they're talking about this lady doing. They're encouraging that because the women already know they can get away with it. So, I mean, men, and a lot of men are, you know, kind of realizing this, and they're like, dude, like, you know, why do I want to risk, you know, my freedom and my money and my house and everything that I've worked so hard to obtain? Why would I want to risk that for some woman who's going to set me up like that?
But Faisal says they were constantly arguing, and in April he walked into an incredible sting when he came home from a night shift at Woolies.
Yeah, it was all prepared for me, the whole crime scene.
The unit had been ransacked. Faisal says Asma was waiting for him with this disturbing message.
I entered and she just said to me that you think you are smart and you are talking to lawyers about me. Now see what I do to you. And
that's the way a lot of these women do. The second they find out you're talking to a lawyer and that you're getting ready to bounce, they're like, okay, you're going to leave the relationship or watch what I do to you. Like I said, it's punishment for the guy saying, you know what, I'm not going to deal with you taking advantage of me anymore. I'm done with this. I'm moving on. And so when he does that, this is what happens. He has to deal with this. And a lot of guys now are realizing, you know, it's just not worth it. Like, why would I? And the good times are good times, don't get me wrong, but, you know, if it's going to turn out like this, you know, especially if you've got a woman who's materialistic, it's going to turn out like that, because eventually you're going to be like, look, I've got no more money to give you, or I've just spent all this money and you're still fighting with me, so I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm wiping my hands with this. And then the second you do that, bam, you get hit with that.
You just run.
CCTV captures the bizarre events that followed. Asma runs from the apartment and into the lift. She presses the button. It takes a few moments before the incredible Asma attack. She gives herself 2 uppercuts to her face and clutches her cheek. She then checks her handiwork in the mirror. Seemingly satisfied with her self-inflicted punishment, Asma eagerly waits for the lift door to open. She takes off down the hall and into the street to call police. Oblivious to what his wife had cooked up and concerned for her safety, Faisal also entered the police, where he was arrested and charged with assault.
Y'all hear that? Good God. Like, this guy went to these... I mean, the law is supposed to be gender equal, okay? And this guy went to the police, looking, you know, trying to get help, not only for his wife, but, you know, to let him know what had happened in the room. And instead of taking a report and documenting everything and investigating it, they just automatically arrest a dude based on the wife's allegations.
If convicted, he faced up to 7 years behind bars.
I didn't know that she went to that. She's gonna go to that extent, go to the police, and forget everything what I did for her, and just ruin my life.
In a follow-up sucker punch, Faisal says the police unwittingly helped Asma steal his things which she had packed into these suitcases while he was being held at the station.
Oh my God. So this guy goes to the police to get help, to let them know what had happened, that his wife had set up this crime scene, and that she, what she had said to him, that you think you're smart talking to a lawyer, well, see what I do to you. So he goes to a cop and he tells them this. They arrest him, and then they go back to his place and steal his stuff for the wife. Like, you see how easy it is for these women to play victim. And look how many people are helping her carry this stuff out. Do y'all see how that encourages women to do that? Because not only did the dude end up at least going to jail for it, he got his stuff stolen too. By the police.
More importantly, Faisal's freedom was also about to be taken.
Did you ever harm Asma?
Never. I really loved her.
Faisal spent 20 grand on a lawyer and trawled through hours of CCTV to find his get-out-of-jail card.
Now, the thing about that is, like, they said he spent $20,000 on lawyer fees. How many men out there have $20,000 that you can spend on lawyer fees and hours of free time to go through CCTVs? Very few men who actually go through this have 20 grand to spend on a lawyer. This guy was fortunate enough to do it. But what if you're a blue-collar guy? I don't even think a middle-class guy can afford that. I mean, $20,000, that's a lot of money, especially when you got other bills to pay and kids to take care of. I don't think this guy had any kids to take care of, but he still had bills. And so he was able to afford his bills and still spend $20,000 on lawyer fees. So, I mean, how many men could do that? So, I mean, that pretty much lets you know if you ain't got $20,000 to defend yourself against a false allegation, you can pretty much wrap that up. You're going to jail, buddy.
And once I saw this, I felt relieved that now the justice will be served.
New South Wales police dropped the assault charges, but never charged his estranged wife for making a false accusation, an offence.
Wow. Yo. Really? Okay, so they see the CCTV footage, and luckily for him, he had that. Not a lot of guys do. And that's where a lot of guys get in trouble, is because they don't have that footage to prove what actually happened. This guy luckily did. But yet, the police dropped the charges against the husband, yet did not charge the wife for making a false allegation. And I'm gonna tell you what, but that is by definition defamation of character. And I'm not gonna put it up on the screen, but you're welcome to look it up by all means. The definition of defamation of character is being charged with a crime that, if were true, could or would result in jail time. Which is exactly what she did, which is a crime. That is a crime to do that. It's a defamation of character is a crime that is punishable by fines and jail time. And yet this woman got off scot-free.
Which also carries a jail term of up to 7 years.
Question is, why not? The answer is, because if they do, they're going to be embarrassed by what they didn't do at first instance.
And that's the way it usually is. Why did they let the woman go? Because they don't want to be embarrassed of the fact that they were naive enough and foolish enough to believe that lie. So they got to save face for their department so that they're going to let the woman go. Okay, that's, you know what? Because we don't want to admit to the public that we made a really bad call, and we don't want to embarrass our department. We're going to let you go on a crime that should get you up to 7 years of jail time. We're going to let you go on that. but we're going to arrest this guy for coming in to try and file a complaint against you. That was legitimate. He filed a legitimate claim, got arrested. She filed a false allegation that was proven to be false and was let go.
Victims of crime advocate Howard Brown says it appears police failed to investigate Asma's assault claims properly and assumed Faisal was guilty from the outset.
So when you realise that someone has made a false declaration to a police officer and you can prove that she made a false declaration, you then charge her with perverting the course of justice.
Also known as defamation of character. And that is absolutely true. The problem with that for most men is that we don't have a way to prove that. So the guy that's in question, the husband, was, like I said earlier, was fortunate enough to have the CCTVs. But how many men have, 24-hour surveillance around their house to be able to prove that their wife is the one who inflicted the injuries on herself? Very few, if any. So if she decides to make a false allegation against you, you have a much harder time of proving it. And like just in this case right here, they automatically sided with the wife over the husband. Automatically. Right out the gate. Simply because she had marks. And they failed to investigate it and to determine if she caused the marks or if the man actually did. Instead, they just went ahead and arrested him anyway without doing really any investigation. And that's the way a lot of law enforcement and the court system is, especially when it comes to men versus women. Because they automatically see women as the victims. They automatically see men as the aggressor. And society, just like in this case right here, society bought right into it very quick. I mean, like literally right out the gate, bought into it and arrested the guy right on site. You know? But yet, when they found out that the woman lied about it, what did they do? Nothing. Nothing. If we're going to talk about equality, where is the equality in that? When you want to say laws are gender equal, why is that law clearly not gender equal? Because the wife got away with something that's supposed to be a crime. What she accused the man of, they said could get him up to 7 years. The false allegation she made could also get her up to 7 years. So the sentence time was equal. But they arrested the man, even though they dropped the charges based on the CCTV footage. They still arrested the man. And if they wouldn't have had that CCTV footage, they probably would have put him in jail. Whereas the woman, even though they proved it was a lie, they let her go knowing that she could get the same amount of time. Because what she did was actually a crime. What he did was not, because he didn't do anything wrong. She actually committed the crime. And yet she got away with it.
Police haven't done that.
Asma's statement to police is shocking.
Faisal grabbed my throat with both hands and began to squeeze tight until the point I was unable to breathe. He punched me on my left cheek and with his fist. He has started to hit me everywhere with the belt. He was so violent to me. I thought I was going to die.
See, even if she goes into the police department, she says all that right there, okay? The only thing she actually has is the mark on her cheek. There's no marks around her throat. There's no welts from a belt or anything like that. Only the mark on her cheek that was clearly self-inflicted. Yet they were willing to charge this man without doing a proper... They couldn't look at this woman and say, well, you say he grabbed you by the throat, but we don't see any marks. Well, you say he hit you with a belt, but we don't see any marks to prove that. They didn't say that. They said, you know what, we're going to believe you, we're going to arrest him, and that's it. Wow. Wow.
Faisal suspects Asma's motive was an email she discovered he had sent to a visa migration agent. He says he wanted out of the marriage, which was potentially a threat to her ability to stay in Australia.
What do you feel when you look back at these photos of her?
Sad that I shouldn't have done that.
Should have known better?
Yeah, should have known better.
Asma has since disappeared somewhere in Australia, leaving Faisal to deal with the fallout from false love. He's battling away in average shared accommodation to help pay off his debts. The hurt hubby now wants his estranged wife charged, held accountable, and deported back to Morocco.
I mean, guys, if you watch the last video that I posted as to, why you don't take dating advice from women, and this is the whole reason behind that is because, guys, if you end up being vulnerable to a girl who, especially one who is materialistic, and that's why I try to, help you to see the signs of things like this, because when you've got a woman who's materialistic, she wants you to spend money on her, she wants you to take on nice vacations, she wants you to buy her jewelry, and whatever else, to accommodate her luxury lifestyle. You can pretty much bet if you decide to stop that, there's going to be issues there. Okay? And so you that's a clear indication that she's only in it for the money anyway. And now the aftermath of this guy is having to live. He was able to afford $200,000 in total, according to his own statement. $200,000 on her, and now he's, I think what they said was a shared lifestyle, like a shared home with someone, so that he can pay off his debts that he acquired while trying to give this woman everything that she wanted. So she just sucked him dry. She done got all the jewelry she can get out of him, all the vacations she can get out of him, and I'm sure she didn't work a bit of time that she was with him. Probably didn't even do any housework. And then tried to get him charged at the same time. So she basically robbed the guy and tried to have him charged at the end because he got tired of being robbed. And now she gets off scot-free, and he's left paying up all the debt that he acquired while trying to provide for someone who didn't even appreciate it.
I am the victim now. I got used and abused over and over again, mentally, financially, emotionally, you name it.
And that's what so many people in society do not understand. I absolutely agree with that statement right there. That guy right there is the victim. Emotionally, mentally, financially, psychologically, and all of those, are, especially three of those, are very severe issues. And you don't think about it. You think, oh, it's psychology. Well, you're control of your own mind. But if you're dealing with that for years, that does a number on you. Same thing with your emotions and your stress and your anxiety, your blood pressure. All that starts to skyrocket, and it creates some serious health issues. Some serious health issues that can greatly affect him later on in life. So he very much was the victim. But how many people in society do you think is going to say, you're the victim, poor you? Nobody. But they did to the woman who made the false allegation. She got to play the victim card, even though it wasn't even a true victim card. This guy is the real victim. How many people is actually standing up for him? How many people do you think is fighting for, his equality in that situation? And it was actually stated in one of the other videos that I posted, the lady who did the Red Pill documentary, and she clearly stated, men are victims as well. we're just as likely to be victims as women are. And this is proof of that. This is proof. You cannot deny it. I mean, you can say that's not true all you want. You watch this. You can't deny that guy is a victim. He lost a lot of money because of her. He went through a lot of stress because of her. Mental and emotional anguish because of her. He is absolutely a victim. But I guarantee you he does not be acknowledged as one because he's a man and she's a woman. Like I said before in my other videos, you know, he's probably told, you're a man, man up, take it like a man and deal with it. We're not going to help you.
I'm the victim. So she did that. Now it's her turn to face the consequences.
Faisal says he's got a long road ahead before he's capable of finding love again, but says he's learned a valuable, albeit expensive, life lesson.
If God shows you true colors of someone, don't try to paint a different picture. Just
translation, and that's actually a very good point, but quick translation on that one. He said, when God tries to paint your picture, don't try to paint a different one. Basically meaning, when you see the red flags, get out. Okay? Don't brush it off like it doesn't matter. Don't think you can change this person and make this person into something you want them to be. Just either you're willing to accept who they are or you're not. If you're not willing to accept them, don't try to change the narrative to fit what you want it to say.